I'll sort of go over how we put our new greenhouse together and how it all came together. You know, first of all, this was 4 years in the making, a little bit longer actually. We did not buy all this in one lump sum. We basically, over the last 4 years, when something was coming on sale that I could use for the greenhouse, I would purchase it. If we ever wanted to expand it, we can actually do a second lean-to attached to this one, and it'd basically be two separate greenhouses, or we could take panels off and make sort of an even larger greenhouse. One of the first things that we did, tried to flatten the land out as smooth and as level as possible, and then we put down a weed barrier. On top of the weed barrier, we put gravel. We got a bunch of pavers that we got on sale, I think 2 years ago, that will actually be the base of the inside walkways. And the reason why we're doing that is that's going to create more thermal mass, so that in the winter, hopefully it will help retain heat throughout the night. The reason why we sort of went with a gravel base instead of a smooth concrete was because around here, if it was concrete and it was attached, it would be considered a permanent structure, which would be taxed a lot more. So to avoid that, there is no concrete. I can take this apart piecemeal, and so it doesn't classify as a permanent structure, so we're not going to be taxed on it. If your area does have where you don't get taxed if it's a permanent structure, or like if it's a greenhouse, then I highly suggest actually just getting concrete and paving you a slab to actually set the building on, and making sure that it is smooth. The reason being is this is not 100% level, so it made some things a little bit more difficult during the build, and I'll get into that. Basically, the frame is the same style of frame as a house, 16-inch studs. The reason being, and it's 12 feet high, each of these panels here are 4 by 8. So 3 fits basically perfectly up the 12-foot wall. A lot of people are probably considering thinking 12 feet, that's a pretty high wall. And the reason is we've got some trees and pots that cannot be grown in this zone, so we have to keep it in the greenhouse, and we want to make sure we had some extra room for them to grow taller. The 12-foot walls were a pain to set. I'm not gonna lie. They were heavy. We had to get multiple people to help set it, but thanks for community work, we were able to get that done. If you notice, most of these panels are tied in with a connector here. That ended up being a great asset. However, it also threw off our measurements about a ½ inch each time we used one. So going up and down, it wasn't that much of a problem, but going side to side, because we were doing I made this basically 11 feet by 40. Okay, so 40, if these were breaking evenly, it would be butt to butt, and we'd have to caulk and do a lot of other things. The connectors actually help a lot, but they add that extra ½ inch, which threw off some of where we had to add scabs for the actually to screw it in, because it threw it off a little bit. One other thing I would suggest is getting you good screws with the rubber seal to help. This is a Tough Text we got, I think, at Lowe's, which I think now they're expensive. There's other places that you can probably get cheaper. It's got twin layer, so it's got a little air in between each layer so that it will help retain heat, which is good for our greenhouse. If you look at the roof, the joist, we actually cut 2x4s, cut a little notch that then we actually had to come through and add the 2x4s in between the joist to cover the air gap, which wasn't a biggie. It was help seal that air so that heat doesn't escape through. So this is the front of the greenhouse. Some people might be wondering why there's so much wood on the front. To put it simply, the Tough Techs became so expensive it was actually cheaper to put, and we were short like 2 panels. We went with some wood that will actually be painted, tried to get, cut some pieces as much as possible so that there still be light. This doesn't get a whole lot of light, this side doesn't, because of a tree and a house, so it wasn't that big of a deal. The key was, trying to calculate which gives it a lot of light. Now this is a 4x8 door, so when we open it, it does give a lot of air flow, because on the other side we actually have another 4x8 door, so we can roll things in on dollies if need be. The current temperature is 62 degrees outside. When we come in, I'll show you and this door has been open, so it's been letting some air through. It is currently over 90 degrees in the greenhouse. So it's a almost 30 degrees improvement with the doors open. So it does get hot. We've had it where it will get roughly, it's gotten up to 110 in here, which is too hot. And this is when it's cooling off. If you look again, we came up to about 8 feet tall and put in braces to help support both walls. This back wall is 8 feet tall, so it's 12 on one side, 8 feet with the slanted roof for rainfall. We also braced V-bracing on the walls to help give it stability. This did make it through Hurricane Helene, which, to be honest with, I was kind of a little bit worried. We also added a little bracing up top and all the way through the center. This is not professionally done. You can tell it's not professionally done. We drilled holes through the base and put 3-foot rebar down. That's what's actually anchoring it to the ground. And we put them spacing several different, every couple feet. You'll see rebar that was hammered down. And again, this survived through Hurricane Helene. We actually already had our raised beds on this side and we built the greenhouse around. I don't recommend that. If you look here on the ground, we did, for purposes of making sure this stayed at 11 feet, we got bracing down on the ground that goes from side to side, and that piece is 11 feet, so we kept it flush. And again, this is all the ground is going to be raised up because we're going to put another layer of weed barrier, weed cloth on it, and then we're going to get some chat, and then we're going to lay the pavers down, and then put chaff to actually help keep the pavers in. Now there's plants right here currently, and one reason why this is all wood is we're actually going to put guttering on the outside of this wall we're going to put 2 rain catchment barrels along with an IBC tote in here that we actually have purchased. We just haven't installed it yet. We're waiting until we get the pavers and stuff down. But that will catch all the rainwater from the roof, and it will catch a lot because this is a big roof, so that we can water the inside plants without worry. It will also create thermal mass during the winter, so that it will help keep it warmer during the colder nights. Now, as you can see, these are some of our trees. We've got 2 lemon trees. Lemon's already forming and turning nicely. We actually have a banana tree. Those are some of the things that, you know, we cannot plant and let it grow in our zone. Our wonderful bell peppers, they're actually enjoying this. This is currently in October, so we're still going strong on bell peppers in October. It's actually almost mid-October, and it's been getting down into 30s already. So, and it will get colder, but hopefully we'll be able to have the bell peppers year-round if need be. And of course, this is our coffee plant. You know, I don't drink coffee, but my wife does. She likes coffee. These are the little berries. Once they turn red here, they're green currently, but once they turn red, they'll have 2 coffee beans in them, and nothing like homegrown coffee. If you look here, this whole back corner, which gets the least amount of sun, especially during the winter, is actually wood. And the reason being is we plan on actually putting a small wood stove in here just to make sure if it gets really cold during the winter, because we have had some cold snaps, we want to make sure that we can keep this greenhouse at least a temperature where it won't kill all of our tropical plants. We're actually going to be painting the inside. We're in the process of that, and we'll have a small wood stove that's surrounded by blocks to help retain thermal mass and thermal heat. So that's the next little bit after we get the wood painted on the outside. So as you can see, we've already started it's actually staining the outside here, and we'll continue to. That's what I'm going to be working on today. If you look on this side, we still have additional bracing, and we will probably actually keep that up, simply because most of our heavy winds come and they will hit the 12-foot side, so we just want to make sure. We might take that down eventually, but that probably helped a lot during the hurricane. Again, we got the polycarbonate paneling, Tough Text, all the way down, and then we'll install our guttering system, and we actually will have it leaning about midways, one to one corner, one to this corner, and we'll have an IBC tote on the outside here, which will collect some of the rainwater, where we could actually run down with a hose and water our animals down here if need be. Now we won't be able to use it during the winter because it would be outside and it would probably freeze, but during the summer, spring, and fall, that will be a valuable tool to have. One thing that I did learn is get good caulk for the roof. We went with a cheaper caulk that was actually a little old, and we did have a little leaking, which not that big of a deal, but I don't like leaks, so I like wanting everything to be as airtight as possible. So we did get better caulk and recaulked up on the roof. If I bought this as is and had it made, that's going to be a very expensive greenhouse. This is still expensive in my book, but if you can do it yourself, And even if you know a basic carpenter, if you're not that well versed in building things yourself, if you can get a group that will help you put all the pieces together, I highly encourage that route because you can customize it the way you want. We did do the 11 foot instead of 12 foot wide because a 12 foot 2x4 would reach as the total length on the trusses. So we were trying to minimize as little waste as possible. And if you look over here, that so far is all our 2x4 waste, which isn't much when you consider a building with these angles and cuts and stuff. So on our homestead, we try to use as much as possible and waste as little as possible. So good motto I think that everyone should have. If you have any questions or you want to leave any comments, please feel free. I'll try to answer them the best I can. Sorry we didn't have a lot of video of us actually putting this together. Like I said, it was mainly 3 people working on it as we could. So it took a while and we weren't concentrating on setting up a camera and filming it while trying to get as much done as possible in a day. But if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thank you.
SHTF Survival Homestead Teaching Farm thanks you for watching this video. Please continue to help us help you by liking, sharing, and subscribing.
There's a heat wave. There's a heat wave rolling in. There's a heat wave, yeah. There's a party in the streets and the city's on fire.